We look at how to prevent and treat GLP-1 hair loss, how long it takes for your hair to grow back. We'll go through key supplements which can help to prevent hair loss on a GLP-1 medication, and also how to treat hair loss if it's already starting to happen. And we're going to talk about why this happens when we start a GLP-1, when to expect it if it's going to happen. And then later on in the video, we'll talk about some really important key conditions which can become very obvious on a GLP-1. So I have structured this video so that it's like a question answer type thing. So let's jump in. First question, can rapid weight loss cause hair loss? The answer is yes. It's not just about GLP-1 medications, but a GLP-1 medication does add complexity to weight loss, and especially rapid weight loss. This is because we're essentially pumping superhuman amounts of hormones into our body, and that changes how our body will react. If you're losing hair on a GLP-1, you've probably been told that it's just about protein deficiency. Well, new research, now that there is a big population of people using GLP-1 medications, the research is ever evolving. So I have gone through the latest research, and it proves that just getting enough protein is actually an oversimplification. You can eat all the steak in the world and you will still probably lose hair if you're missing a few key ingredients. So here's what the stats are. In clinical trials before the drugs were released to the public, before they went through the FDA and other governing bodies around the world, drug companies said that hair loss affected about 3% of the population that went through the human trials. But in real world, the endocrinologists and dermatologists that are helping people to deal with this problem actually say it's more like 33% of patients using a GLP-1. So the mechanism, or in other words, the cause of this problem, is actually termed metabolic shock. So what is metabolic shock? Interestingly, the body defines shock as losing more than 2 to 3 pounds per week. So that's why it's really important to keep your weight loss nice and steady. You don't want to go too fast. So Tirzepatide or Mounjaro causes faster weight loss than semaglutide. So hair loss rates are nearly double when people are using Tirzepatide or Zepbound. This was found in the original clinical trials that were done by the companies before they became public. So in those trials, it was 6% versus 3%, but it's still better than bariatric surgery, which is 40% of people that lose hair after they have surgery. And in a minute, we're going to get into why that is. So the next question, why does hair loss start? So let's talk about the 3 phases of hair loss, because this will help us to understand what's going on inside the body so then we can solve the problem. So why did your hair start falling out 3 to 4 months after starting your GLP-1 medication? Well, the science behind this is 3 phases to hair growth. So the first phase is the growth phase. 90% of your hair is usually in the growth phase. Then you've got the transition phase, which is a short period where your hair stops growing. And then you've got the resting or shedding phase. And this is the key phase that we need to talk about. So the lag, or the explanation for this, when you have that metabolic shock, when you start the drug, so all of a sudden your body's flooded with hormones in massive amounts that it wouldn't normally have, that's a shock to your system, right? So when you start, your body moves its resources to vital organs, and this shocks the hair follicles into the resting and shedding phase. So the resting phase lasts 3 to 4 months. The result is a trigger that hair loss starts 3 to 4 months later. So most people are noticing that 3 or 4 months after they start their GLP-1, oh my God, I'm losing a lot of hair here. What's going on? That's normally what happens. And the reason is because your body has been in shock. Then your hair sits in that resting phase or shedding phase. So your hair is no longer growing, but it is shedding. This is why people don't link the hair loss to the medication, or they never used to, but now it's become a well-known fact and so many people are talking about it. So I think a lot of people have come to expect it. So how long does the hair loss last on Ozempic or Tirzepatide? As long as you're deficient and you're still in metabolic shock, so as long as you are really stressing your body with high weight loss, like if you're losing 3, 4, 5 pounds a week, your body's going to be doing everything it can to stabilize all of the processes going on within you. You need to allow time for your hair to grow back, which could take as long as 6 months from starting supplementation, which we'll talk about in a minute. Next question, is Ozempic hair loss permanent? Well, for the vast majority of people, no, it's not permanent. However, there are some conditions that get sped up once you start taking a GLP-1, which people don't know that they have. They're underlying genetic conditions. And once they start taking the GLP-1, these conditions become obvious. But we'll talk about that in a minute. How to prevent Ozempic hair loss, or how to prevent GLP-1 hair loss. So it's not just about what you're eating, it's about your absorption. And this is the big difference between just losing hair when you start losing weight. So let's say you're losing weight with no GLP-1, you've just started a new eating and exercise plan and you start losing weight. Your body may actually go into metabolic shock, because even that in itself is a big like, oh my God, what's going on, until your body starts to adjust to the new routine. But with a GLP-1, you have a couple of other factors that we need to look at. So the biggest one is gastric emptying, which is like digestion, right? You've got this whole phase, if you think about from mouth to end point, nutrients in cells, there's actually a lot of things going on for you to be able to digest your macronutrients and your micronutrients. And we need both. We need enough of both in order for our cells to do what they need to do. So one of the things that happens is there are changes in your stomach acid. So stomach acid is very important for breaking down protein. It's important for also absorbing some minerals. So let's start with protein. You need to get at least 1 gram per kilogram of body weight per day of protein, or you need 0.5 gram per pound per day. Now, this is the bare minimum. If you have a physical job, if you are exercising, or if you're not well, you need more protein. Protein is the only thing we do not store in our body when it comes to macronutrients. So make sure that you're getting enough every day, because every bit of protein that you're taking in will be used for something. Don't go crazy and have 500 grams of protein a day. That is counterproductive, but you do need enough. So stick with 1 gram per kilogram or 0.5 gram per pound. And if there's any other variants, exercise, heavy workload, stress, immune issues, anything like that, you need to increase a little bit. And you could go up to like 2 grams per kilogram or 1 gram per pound of body weight. Okay, so let's look at supplements apart from protein. So we've got iron, the first one. So this is really interesting. When you go to the doctor and you have your labs done, your doctor is normally looking for anemia when they test for iron. And they're looking at ferritin when they're looking for iron deficiency or anemia. And what they want to see is anything over 15 nanograms per milliliter, right? Nanograms is basically 1/1000th of a gram. So it's a tiny amount. So if your labs come back and you've got more than 15 nanograms per milliliter, then the doctor will say that you're fine, that you're not anemic, everything's great. Here's the thing. When it comes to hair follicles, they are expensive when it comes to growing, and they use a lot of iron. So they starve before the rest of the body, because iron is used for so many different things within the body that the hair follicle doesn't really rate as one of the most important things. Like your metabolism uses iron, obviously your blood uses it to carry oxygen, and there's so many other things that iron can do. So in order to stop hair loss, you need to have 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter. In order to get your hair to start regrowing, you actually need more like 70 nanograms per milliliter. So when your doctor's doing your bloods, ask them to, or you can even check on your report actually, how much ferritin you've got running through your blood. The next one is vitamin B12, the double whammy. So slow gastric emptying prevents vitamin B12 from detaching from food. Plus, if you're taking metformin, it blocks B12 absorption in the intestines. So you need to find out if you're B12 deficient. B12 is very easy to get. It's abundant in animal nutrients, And you can also get supplements to pep up your B12. The next one is zinc. Zinc deficiency causes hair breakage or brittle hair, not just shedding from the root. So dosage fact, standard multis aren't enough. Research shows that you need 0.5 to 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight of elemental zinc to fix the hair breakage issue. And if you're wondering, there are 2.2 pounds per kilogram of body weight. I'll put some information about that in the description for you so that you can work out exactly how much zinc you need to take. Then we're going to look at vitamin D, and specifically vitamin D for hair loss whilst taking Ozempic or Tirzepatide. So the research shows that nearly 14% of people develop a new vitamin D deficiency in their first year on GLP-1 medications. Even though you are losing fat, and vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, remember? So we would normally store quite a lot of vitamin D. So even though you are losing fat, which usually releases vitamin D into your system, the malabsorption of vitamin D is so strong that your levels crash. And without vitamin D, your hair follicles can't turn on from the resting phase into the growth phase. So you could easily take maybe 4,000 or 5,000 U of vitamin D a day, especially if you live in an area where there is no sunshine. You can see in my area, I probably don't need any vitamin D because I'm, constantly in the sun. But if you are in a cold climate where you don't get a lot of sunshine, or you spend a lot of time indoors, or if you have darker skin, because darker skin absorbs sunlight less. So dark skin, cold climate, not in the sun, indoors quite a lot, you're going to need to be supplementing with vitamin D in order to get enough. Also, vitamin D is integral in many hormonal processes. Some scientists are even saying now, rather than it being a vitamin, it should be called a hormonal supplement, because it does have so much to do with so many different things in our body. Hormones are one of them. B vitamins are next. So what about B vitamins when you're on Wegovy or Tirzepatide or Zepbound? Take a good women's multi or men's multi, and you want to ensure that you're getting enough B vitamins. You need to look for a supplement that has the full RDI of vitamins and minerals. It's very hard to get the full RDI of minerals, so you may need to get 2 separate supplements, but minerals are just as important as vitamins. Or another alternative is you can get a really good quality multi and just have 2 a day, split them, 1 in the morning, 1 at night, and you don't even have to do that every day. As long as you're doing that a few days a week, you will pep up your vitamin and mineral intake. And of course, eat real food. Real food has everything we need as well. But because of our slow gastric emptying and our decrease in acidic acid in our stomach, that's what's stopping us from absorbing all of the nutrients that we need while we're on a GLP-1. I think it is really important to supplement where we can, just to ensure that we're getting enough. So, next question. Is Ozempic hair loss permanent? The answer is, for most people, no, it's not. So let's go through the good news and then we'll talk about the bad news. Good news is, for most people, this is a very temporary thing. You'll shed hair, it will grow back. Once your weight stabilizes and your hair goes back into the natural phases of hair growth, then you will start to see your hair thickening up again. Now, the bad news. Research has uncovered an unmasking of androgenetic alopecia. So what this means in everyday language is it is basically male and female pattern baldness. So the data shows that some people, if they have this underlying genetic predisposition, they start taking a GLP-1, and for whatever reason, the GLP-1 turns on those genes and starts to create baldness. This is a very small population, but it is something to look out for. So if you feel like you are losing a lot of hair, or the pattern of your hair is changing, it's definitely something to go and talk to your doctor about. So the stat is GLP-1 users have 1.62 times higher risk of being diagnosed with pattern baldness. So why is this? The stress sheds the hair, but because of the genetics rising up and becoming more predominant, the hair that grows back is thinner and it's not as mature as what you would have had before. This is permanent without treatment, and there are treatments, so you can talk to your doctor if you are concerned about that. Now, the new warning that has come out, which is a type of alopecia, The signal is this. Recent data in 2025, so it's brand new, shows that there is a 2-time higher risk of autoimmune hair loss. So this is patchy bald spots that start to appear on your scalp. And it only seems to be on these drugs due to an immune system shift. Because what we have never talked about is that GLP-1 medications do actually affect our immune system. And I won't go into that in this video because it's a little bit technical, but be aware that when we're taking a GLP-1, they do actually affect our immune system, which is interesting, isn't it? I might do some research on that later on purely because I'm interested to know what's happening. Next question, how to treat Ozempic hair loss. So this is a strategy to treat, and this is not just for Ozempic. If you're on Wegovy, Zepbound, Mounjaro, Saxenda, any of the GLP-1 medications, this will help. Strategy 1, do not start titrating until you need to. Because remember, this is a shock to our system. Go low and slow. Don't race to the highest dose. If you are losing weight, stay on your current dose. Slower weight loss equals less metabolic shock and less side effects too. You can talk to your doctor about that. Strategy 2, the hair blood panel. Don't just check hemoglobin. Don't do the standard. Check ferritin, vitamin D, and B12 levels. Strategy 3, targeted supplementation. And I would suggest if you are new to starting a GLP-1, or even if you're here because you've just noticed that you're losing a bit of hair, start this immediately. So targeted supplementation, get your ferritin above 70 nanograms per milliliter. That means you need to take an iron supplement. Don't overdo iron because too much iron is just as bad as not enough. Okay, so be sensible. But you also need to take vitamin C because of low stomach acid, because iron is one of those things that doesn't absorb very well with low stomach acid. Vitamin C will help for your body to absorb the iron that you're taking. Zinc supplementation for 3 to 4 months if your hair is brittle. So the strategy is to prevent. So start supporting these nutrients before the hair starts to thin out or shed. And this is what we call a prophylactic protocol. But it's a good idea to start as soon as possible because I tell you what, all of these supplements do many other things in the human body. It's not just about hair. It will solve this problem or it will prevent your hair from falling out, but it's a good idea to start because iron and zinc and B12 are all very, very important to treat even anemia. What to eat to prevent Ozempic hair loss. So again, this is not just about Ozempic. We're talking Tirzepatide, Saxenda, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, all of them. Protein-rich foods from animal products because they contain iron and zinc with many of the other vitamins that we've just discussed. They do contain B12, B6, which is very important, and with all of your other B vitamins. Now listen guys, if you're taking a vitamin, I just want to digress for 1 second. If you're taking a vitamin, it's important to take all of them. You know, some people just focus on just B12 or just B6. The point is, in the human body, all of the vitamins work together. You need fat soluble, you need water soluble, all of the B vitamins. Biotin is a B vitamin, so there's no point just taking biotin. You need B12, B1, B2, B3, you know, all of them. So it's better to get a multi with all of your vitamins and just take that. And if you need a higher dose, you can take 2 a day for a little while. Okay, interesting facts that not many people know. The anemia gap. Your doctor says your iron is fine at 20, right? Your hair says, I'm starving and that's why I'm falling out. Hair regrowth requires ferritin levels to be above 70. If you have enough iron, but your hair is still shedding, start looking at things like B12, vitamin D, and zinc. I would look at zinc first. The metformin multiplier. Now this I found really interesting in the research. Taking metformin with your GLP-1, you are at triple the risk of being vitamin B12 deficient because both drugs fight against B12 absorption. That is something to talk to your doctor about because B12 is essential for life. The 3-month lag. If your hair is falling out today, it's because of what you did 3 months ago to your body. This is the delayed reaction. So you've probably noticed 3 months or 4 months into your GLP-1, the shedding has started. So it'll be around about that time frame, but it's never too late to start supplementing and, you know, switch your diet up a little bit in order to prevent this from happening. Shedding versus breaking. This is something we all need to look out for. If your hair falls out from the root, it's the weight loss shock, the metabolic shock. If it snaps off in the middle, that is a clear sign of a zinc deficiency from malabsorption. And the unmasking effect, probably the scariest thing for some people from this whole research, weight loss doesn't just cause temporary shedding, it can fast forward genetic balding. If your hair grows back thinner, it's not the drug anymore. It could be your genetics. So if you notice that, it's probably a really good idea to check that out. Because I personally found this research really, really interesting, and it certainly helped me. I learned a lot that, from recent research. So this research is coming from between 2023 and 2025. It's now January 2026. So it's very, very, very new research. And I'm really interested to see what else we uncover this year in new research coming out as well. But this does sort of make me think, I personally, after reading through all of this research, and I've just covered a little bit of it in this video, after reading all of this research, I am so glad that I followed my intuition and started on a microdose. Because had I started on a bigger dose, I may have right now, you can see I've got plenty of hair. I haven't had the hair shedding thing, but I've been supplementing from day one. So yeah, I'm just glad that I started on a very small dose, and that I have not been titrating up. Actually, now I'm going the other way. I'm starting to come down. So anyway, I do hope that it's helped you to understand these medications are great for helping us getting our weight under control and to help us transition to a healthier diet. They are not a quick fix. If we use them in a way that is not conducive to health, we probably are going to suffer a lot of consequences. I personally believe every single medication will cause other consequences. It is a fact of life. Once we start one med, usually we end up on another med to treat, side effects from the first med, and it just keeps going, One med turns to 2, turns to 3, turns to 4. Even in this video, this is a good example of, okay, so we've started taking a GLP-1. Now we need to take zinc, B12, B vitamins, vitamin D, it's endless. So I feel like if we can be very sensible about how much we're taking, work closely with your doctor. If something doesn't seem right to you, go and do something about it. Because here's the other thing I have learnt whilst being in this industry and, working with people closely and having a lot to do with pharmacists and other health professionals. Here's the thing. When you go to a doctor, yes, they will do their best to treat you in the best way that they know how. Sometimes, though, doctors don't take people seriously because they can't see the connection, or maybe they don't have the whole history. I'm sure they're all doing their best. But here's the one thing we all need to remember. We need to be responsible for our own health. We don't leave our health in somebody else's hands, because even if a doctor is doing the very best they can, we suffer the consequences. If somebody else gets it wrong, we suffer the consequences, not anyone else. So that's why I feel like it's really, really important for us to all be very, very conscious of doing the research, taking control of our health, getting as much information as we possibly can, learn about our body. And if you go and see a professional and they don't take you seriously, or they don't see what you see, go and see another one. Find somebody that will listen and take action that can actually help you. That's my rant on health. Anyway, I do hope that this video was helpful. I hope that it answered all of your questions. Don't forget to download my GLP-1 success checklist, which is actually more of an ebook, but there is a lot of information in there about eating for the best results on a GLP-1 and reducing side effects. And I will see you in the next video.
Smarternuthub Nutrition.